You're listening to Passages, a podcast about great quotes, life, and the wisdom of the Bible. And now your hosts, Drew Kaiser, Jason Pulliam, and Tim Layton.
Good evening. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. I don't know if it's evening for you, but it is for us. And we're hoping that we got it early enough for Jason not to run out of steam before we quit recording.
As long as we don't hit the 10:30 mark tonight, I think we'll be okay. And I want to tell our listeners tonight, you're going to hear a little echo. The studio is under a little bit of a remodel, I guess. And
Yes.
So we sound a little bit like we're all sitting in the bathroom at Tim's house. So bear with us this evening.
Yeah. I haven't done a podcast in the bathroom at Tim's house before, but it sounds fun.
I'm pretty sure this is what it would
could do
sound
it.
like.
When we
Try it sometime.
When we start going on location.
Yeah. Before we get into Jason's story, we're letting him go first tonight because of his issues. Let me remind you about Cobb Publishing. Go to cobbpublishing.com. They got a lot of titles there of interest. We'll highlight the periodical, The Quarterly, a magazine for the Churches of Christ. It's available on Amazon. You can also go to that website, cobbpublishing.com. Jason, get us started tonight. What do we got going on?
So I'm going to just mention a brief story, and then I want to have a little dialogue about it. So have y'all heard of the 2024 Coopers Hill cheese rolling race?
Oh,
Have you heard anything? It's been in the news.
If you were a
this week.
hot dog, you were starving, would you eat yourself?
That's
This
a great
food
question.
segment?
I would say this is probably going under food news. So there is an area in England near on a farm near Gloucester, England. That's what I'm going to say.
Sounds good to me.
I think
Were
they
they-
call that Gloucester.
Gloucester?
Isn't that
Nailed
what
it.
they could do with the Worcester?
Gloucester,
Worcestershire or whatever.
Gloucester.
Gloucester. Okay. Never
However they say it, they have this cheese rolling competition, and what they do is they take I guess you would call it a wheel of cheese, and they start it at the top of a hill, and it goes tearing down the hill, and people chase it, and the first person to the bottom wins. And looking at some of the pictures of this, when I say this is a hill, this is not a gradual sloping hill. This is a pretty steep hill. And it is, the videos I've seen of it are people like end over end tumbling down this hill where they get off of balance. A woman from North Carolina, she won her second title in the cheese rolling competition this year. She's a
So
graduate
the
of
way
NC
you just
State.
described it, are they rolling with the cheese?
No, they're running down the hill, but it's a steep enough hill that running turns into.
So they're pushing the cheese
They start the cheese at the top.
and
And
they
it
run
rolls to the
alongside
bottom.
the cheese?
Yep. And this
Is this the thing? And do they have a stick, or do they just roll it by hand?
No,
or
it's a
whatever?
wheel
Okay.
of cheese. So
Okay.
it's a big block. And this is described as reckless racers chased 7-pound wheels of double Gloucester cheese down the near vertical Cooper's Hill near Gloucester in southwest England. So this race
I feel
has
like
been
I've
going
seen
on.
this on ESPN 8 The Ocho, and I'm being somewhat serious. I think I've seen
This has been in the news all week, and this is a race that's been going on since 1826. Even though cheese rolling,
This should have been Yay Sports.
maybe Yay Sports, so they have to run down. Few competitors manage to stay on their feet all the way down the 200-yard hill. So this is 2 football fields,
200 yards.
nearly vertical hill going downhill, and it's a grassy hill. And the pictures of it just have them falling and crashing, and I mean hundreds of them. It just looks miserable. My question to you is there a food that you would chase down a 200-yard hill trying to catch? That's the goal of the race, is to catch it. No one catches it. They say the cheese moves somewhere around 50, 60 miles an hour going downhill.
Now, does it need to be of such a shape that it really would go down a hill, or just the concept of me chasing
I think
it
let's
because
just
it's
say
so good?
what food would it take to make you chase it down a hill? Like what food is worth running 200 yards down a steep embankment, risking life and limb? Somebody had to be taken to the hospital because of their injuries in this year's race.
How long do I have to wait after the race is over to eat normally again?
Well, you're not swimming, so I don't think
Yeah,
there's
probably
a time.
it's probably going to be through a straw, whatever
Yeah.
it is you catch
Yeah.
at the bottom. Like
If you were-
because
if-
you'll be in a intensive care with your jaws.
Well,
mean,
I'm
if
just
you
thinking
ain't
I could
swimming,
pass
it's
on the
30
race
minutes.
and just wait an hour and eat like a normal person.
Yeah, I
don't know that there's a food
I'm going to go with one based on the shape.
Okay.
This would not roll, but it is a circle. I'm going to go with a supreme pizza from Carpenetti's.
Oh no, their pizzas are spectacular.
I think I might chase it down a hill.
I would definitely chase after a Carpenetti's
It has to be
pizza.
well done to roll.
Maybe not the supreme.
And it definitely have to be thick. Thin crust would just flop over.
Have to be thick and crispy.
Yeah.
But it would not be a block of cheese. And I'm thinking this type
I wouldn't
of cheese
chase
can't be good.
chase cheese.
And I just...
It wouldn't be successful in rolling, so we're more conceptual here.
Oh, yeah.
In
Right.
terms of what we're chasing down
This
the
is
hill.
art.
Yeah.
We're
putting
doing art.
physics,
Right.
physics to the side. Physics completely to the side.
right.
Yeah. Drew, what food is so good that you would chase? Would make you want to roll down a hill to partake of? I guess you could run down the hill.
Since we're being
but my guess
artistic-
is you would roll.
I'd run after a tiramisu.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were a big tiramisu fan.
Tonight, that's what I'm jonesing for.
I like that. I like a good tiramisu.
Now, they put it, there's this place in downtown Birmingham,
They make
Zaza Trattoria,
Okay.
and they put it in a round container. So we could put it in the round container from there.
There you go. That'd
roll
work.
that down the hill.
There's
I'll chase
a
that.
big-
Hey, there's a
giant
restaurant here in
round
town that makes your tiramisu tableside. Oh, what's the name
Here
of the
in
restaurant?
Leeds?
No, not in Leeds.
Oh,
In the
okay.
Birmingham metro area. We don't have
I haven't
anywhere
done.
that
I haven't
makes
had that
tiramisu here.
experience.
Oh man, I wish I could think of the name of it. I've eaten there. Anyway, it's left me. So I would chase my grandmother's what she called a lemon cheesecake. My mom actually made one for the graduation thing last Sunday.
Yeah.
And I ended up eating 3 pieces of it. I'm sorry to those people who were here and did not get a piece, but I instantly went and cut myself a slice, Cassie a slice, Taylor a slice, and Sam a slice. I didn't know if they really wanted a slice, but I knew I wanted more than one, and I figured one of them would balk on it. But
great.
it was the cake that my grandmother would make at all the major holidays. She'd make it every now and again on a Sunday afternoon, and definitely for your birthday. And it is my favorite thing she made. My dad, one time, we were riding in the car and he slammed on the brakes and he turned the cake upside down. And I remember him trying to scrape the icing out of the cake pan and get it back on top of the cake. It didn't go well, but it still tasted great.
I think in that case, you just declare a disaster, take it all home and eat it.
That sounds like a good plan. But I would run down the hill for that, and that is about all I would chase after, I think.
I like the grandmother idea. My grandmother Clark made a chocolate cake, and the icing on top was cooked icing.
Oh yeah.
And so it got hard, almost like
Yeah.
Like a shell?
like a rectangular block of
Yeah.
thin block of chocolate over the top. Ooh,
Was it the fudge taste, kind of the fudgy chocolate?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
that was good stuff.
Julie
Yeah,
does.
I do
I
that.
think she calls it a chocolate eclair. Is that the kind of top you're talking about?
But this got hard. I
Yeah.
mean, not like too hard to be able to put your fork through,
Yeah.
but it did
Keep it
get
in the
hard. Yeah.
refrigerator kind of thing?
No,
Now,
Or just hard in room temperature?
yeah,
speaking of Julie, if she had one of those round cookie carriers of her chocolate chip cookies, I would definitely run down a hill after those because those chocolate chip cookies are divine.
Yes. They came up last week.
Oh yeah, they
We
were
talk about them on a weekly basis
How
here.
about that? It may be that might need to be an ingredient in couch mix.
Could
yeah.
be.
Maybe a crumbled up version of that or something. Cookie
Yeah.
crumble.
So how are we going to
I mean,
do
let's just-
couch mix? Are we going to just have a day where all 3 of us bring our own version, or are we going to plan it out where one of
We
us brings it and we
can.
try?
I think this needs to be a long term planning thing.
I think it's
and
just,
we need to-
when inspiration hits, we
gonna-
go ahead and
bring
get in the kitchen,
yeah.
get it ready for Wednesday night. And if all 3 of us happen to have a good week,
Then
we'll
we've
just
all
try
got
it
it.
out. But
Yeah.
if just one of us
We have just
brings
one.
it along,
And then we may say, hey, 3 ingredients from that couch mix, make it through. There's something there that we probably need to
Yeah.
set aside.
Needs a little this, a
and
little of
eventually
that.
we refine it into, passengers.
we
couch.
may wind up with
What we go to production with.
our flagship. We may have our, is that the right use
Yeah,
of that term?
yeah, I think so.
Our flagship couch mix. And then through time, we may evolve into a whole array of flavors.
And with the power of our listening audience, we should be able to get this out into at least 5 homes,
I would imagine
maybe
so.
6. But that would be
Dream
6
big.
more than it's in now.
That's right. It's going to be in my home.
But anyway,
If it comes to your home, it's coming in a Tupperware container.
yes, and we're not talking this new Tupperware Sterilite stuff. We're talking this is
Some
something
with a
that
stain
It's going
on
to
it.
be
Yeah.
green and
Or
old,
or
and it's going to
orange.
have some kind of little like plastic fuzz on the outside of it because
right.
it's been used
Oh,
for a long
and the top is not
time.
going to be smooth. It's got that textured kind of
been in the
pyramidal
microwave.
shape. Yeah. But I just saw that article and I thought it'd be fun to discuss what we'd chase down the hill. You know, I would do anything for food usually, but I'm not chasing cheese down the hill.
No.
T-Lay, what you got for us tonight?
All right, so this one, I've held on to this one for a few weeks just because other things have sort of superseded it. This is an article that I found that is about a year old, and it struck my interest, and so I started reading it. I couldn't really tie the headline to the body of the story, and so I tried to go to. There were multiple publications who picked this story up, and I found it interesting that all of them really adopted the same headline, and I can't make the headline and the story match, and that'll
Is this a
come to bear.
clickbait situation?
I'm not
maybe.
sure. Here's the headline, and I'm reading from this is the New York Post version of this from April of 2023, about a year ago. Hidden Bible chapter rediscovered 1,750 years later with UV light. Let there be UV light, a hidden chapter of biblical text that is said to date back 1,750 years, has been interpreted by an Austrian scientist, according to a study published last month in the journal New Testament Studies. Gregory Kessel was the guy's name, and he used ultraviolet photography to analyze the Syriac translation. Is that right? Is that
Yes.
of the Bible's Matthew chapters 11 and 12 underneath 3 layers of text in a manuscript. Goes on to say that it appears that this parchment was used and was erased, and through the use of ultraviolet light, they found this information. And all of that seems interesting. But again, you remember what I said the title of this was? Hidden Bible Chapter. So I'm like, all right, what are they going to tell us here? Let me continue on for just a second. So it talks about that this text was suspected to originate in the 3rd century before being copied in the 6th century. I think they're talking about the Syriac text there. And they talked about there's only 2 other manuscripts known of the old Syriac translation of the Gospels. One's in the British Library in London, the other one in St. Catherine's Monastery at Mount Sinai. Okay, and so this website that's reporting this, phys.org, noted that while the original Greek of Matthew chapter 12, verse 1 reads, "At that time Jesus went through the grain fields on the Sabbath, and his disciples became hungry and began to pick the heads of grain and eat." The newly found Syriac translation says, and it basically just sort of starts in the middle of that, began to pick the heads of grain, rub in their hands, and eat them. And then it goes on, and I'm like, I'm getting ready for this new chapter of the Bible, and the article ends. And I'm like, okay, well, that was sort of interesting, that maybe there was some manuscript or translation that throws in that they picked the heads, rubbed them in their hands. Seems like maybe a viable thing they might do before they ate the grain. But
I've read that before. That's in one of the account. Maybe it's in Mark and not in Matthew.
Okay. But how does that constitute a hidden Bible chapter? So I'm like, all right, well, let me go elsewhere.
The article makes you think this is a totally new chapter that's been found.
Yeah,
and what it
absolutely.
is by hidden, they just mean
like,
it was under some other stuff.
Yeah,
right.
It's a variant.
But even
clickbait
in a translation,
and you
is
fell
that.
for it.
Even there, how is it a hidden Bible chapter.
How many of your Facebook
Did you say
friends
it was
did you
over
share this with?
1,700 years old?
Right. And so I looked for so there were other sources
pretty old.
that picked the same story up. And what does it say? This is ndtv.com, Hidden Bible Chapter Unearthed 1,500 years later using UV light. One more. This one that's the New York Post. I had one other one down here. This one is Assyrian International News Agency, and it says researchers find 1,500-year-old chapter within Assyrian Bible. It's like there's no chapter there. There's like
This is not a
there's
new...
like 2 additional words, and I started thinking about this when I decided I was going to...
In a translation.
Right. So I thought, is it possible? So, the scribes were experts in the law, right? Mm-hmm. Is it possible that the scribe was writing this, maybe wrote the account from a different gospel even because he has it in his head? And is there anything that is special in all this about the fact that it was erased? Maybe he made a mistake and erased the whole thing.
Well, the materials they used were very expensive, so you didn't waste. They didn't have paper. They used vellum
and that's
or
what
papyrus.
It said, you don't.
This
you
was
didn't
on
waste
vellum,
parchment.
probably animal hides.
They mentioned parchment.
Parchment, okay. Well, that there's a term for this.
But they said, it was commonplace for parchment to be reused. It was just the whole thing of, sometimes the headline tells you something really different, but it's like everybody picked up not only the story, but also the headline. And it was like 2 words that they had found, through this.
It was a little false advertising.
Layering technique.
The term for this is palimpsest. I think I'm saying that right. Palimpsest. Palimpsest.
That is part of my normal vernacular, and
Yes.
I do believe you're saying that correctly.
Thank you. A manuscript or piece of writing material on which the original writing has been effaced to make room for later writing, but of which traces remain, hence the UV light. This is a fairly common phenomenon. They found a variant in a translation. I thought the first article you read said 1,700 years ago, and then another one said more than 1,500.
It said 3rd century, right? 3rd century AD.
That's really
I think
old.
that's where the Syriac translation maybe began.
But people get excited about these variants, and they're like, "Oh, there's a different chapter," and you dig into it, and it says he rubbed the grain in his hands. This is a matter of textual criticism where they take all these old documents and compare them and find the original text, and I believe we've done that. A rule of thumb for textual criticism is the shorter reading is the better reading. Mm-hmm. So by that rule, we'd throw out this newly discovered chapter because it added rubbed with his hands, if I remember correctly, to what we understood to be the text. Even though it's old, it's a translation,
right?
It's
and even if you took it, it
doesn't change the meaning.
It doesn't change the meaning in any way, right? It maybe just gives you a little more. If you draw the mental picture of they're walking along, they pick the grain, maybe they're doing something with it as they eat or something of that nature. Maybe this writer knew of this technique or whatever. How what did it even mean for them? I think about rolling a ear of corn or something, trying to warm it up a little bit or something because it's
they were removing the
something.
husk from the wheat,
Right.
kind of like you thresh wheat.
Yeah.
This is a miniature form of that where they rub it together to get
So
the
they can
husk
get
off and get the good part of the wheat on the inside. I want to say there's I don't have time to look it up, but there is
one of the
an
other
account.
accounts have that. And see that came to mind too, right? That these scribes, all they did was write the law, and so it may have had that stored up, and
It's pretty cool that they could erase and then go back over it. I mean, glad they had the substances they used to write on then, because we all remember that grayish colored school paper we all had that if you erased it, it had a hole in it. It was just done.
Ooh-wee.
Here's Luke
There was no
6:1.
UV light going to bring that out.
He wasn't doing it with one of those jumbo erasers.
Yeah, one of those big pink erasers. Yeah.
Here's Luke 6:1 in the NIV. One Sabbath, Jesus was going through the grain fields, and his disciples began to pick some heads of grain, rub them in their hands,
There
and
you
eat
go.
the kernels.
Yeah.
So did somebody carry over Luke into Matthew?
Probably. Right.
And again, it
they
doesn't
didn't
take away.
discover
erased
a chapter.
You know, when you erase something, you have to give some consideration to
Why
we
did they
erase
erase it?
mistakes.
Yes.
You know, we erase reuse because we don't want what was there to remain there.
It wasn't regarded as something
And also,
good enough to preserve.
So
and
this
I
was a
would think-
combination of just this whole. I thought the story was interesting, but the disconnect between what they told me to suck me into this
was
is
completely
yeah.
false.
And like y'all said, that's the world
Well,
of
and-
online communication.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
have a feeling that in that time, you didn't just stop what you were doing, erase a portion and write over it. That was a process. So,
Yeah.
so if you made a mistake, you would sit that to the side and either start over or something on a different piece of parchment.
That's interesting. I wonder what they did erase with. I don't know.
I don't know. My father-in-law, I'll tell you about the time he discovered clickbait. He was looking at his iPad, and there was an article that popped up, a headline popped up, something about Emmylou Harris is in trouble, or, it was Emmylou Harris may not have long. And he's like, what happened to Emmylou Harris? And he started reading this very long article, and he was
That happens to pop up
searching
tons
for
of
news about
advertisements.
Emmylou Harris, And after like 20 minutes, he got to the bottom. He said, well, there's nothing wrong with her.
Oh yeah.
I said, yeah, they got you with that headline.
But they get people because you'll read that headline and then share it on social media before you ever read and vet the article, and then it continues to grow.
All right, Drew, over to you.
Okay, well, I've got a little rant to play for you.
Oh, I love
This
rants.
time, and you've heard it before, but it's been a while. I've been saving it. I didn't have any news to go over, so I was just going to play this. This is a mega church pastor, I guess, going on a rant about Starbucks.
Oh,
So I may have to stop him here and there. It's a little long, but I think it's going to be worth it. Our
stop
youth
for
minister,
some commentary, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our youth minister, Eli, he showed it to us and wanted our opinion about it. So I thought it'd be a little entertaining to share it on the podcast
I don't
tonight.
think I've ever heard this. I've heard him talk about it, but I don't know
Okay.
that I've ever heard it.
All right. Well, get a load of this.
You can go and drink a gallon of Starbucks today. That's fine. Don't you bring in cups in this room. If I see it, I'm going to tell you to take it out.
Can you
Hear
pause
me?
it there for a second? So he's saying don't bring him into like their sanctuary, auditorium, whatever. Okay.
Right.
And I don't think it's a matter of like
I'm telling
cleanliness
you,
or anything.
that company is not only one of the most godless companies on the planet, they are full-blown 1,000% a witch's coven. I promise you it's the facts.
You can't get over 100%.
I stake my life on it. Starbucks is witchcraft.
Well, it looks like you got to die, buddy, because it's not a, what do you call it? A witch's coven?
Coven.
Yeah, and then he said it's witchcraft.
He staked his life on it.
I thought they
So
just. So is a barista just a new word for witch?
Yeah, if you look behind the counter, they're on a broom.
I'm fairly sure I've never seen Eye of Newt offered on any of their menus.
Oh, just wait.
I think
it's
there's
coming.
only one way to find out. You have to take one of them and drink. Don't you have to?
You don't
gotta
see
dip 'em
it in there, but it's
Don't
in
you
there.
have to stick them in water or
Well,
something?
you know,
or-
it comes down to the Monty Python "Is she a witch?" test, where you see if it floats on water. What else floats on water? A duck. So which one is heavier, the duck, or I think that's what it came down to.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Okay, let's.
So I've had my reasons for not sharing that as of late, but today we're done with it. Now, if you got 5 cups, don't be freaking out. If you got a Starbucks shirt on, don't freak out. We're a Dunkin' shirt next week. But I just want to make myself clear that I don't care what kind of coffee you drink, but I am going to guard what happens at this church.
So does he care
Because I
or
wouldn't let you
not?
come in here burning sage.
Pause that for a second. I don't care what you drink, but I'm going to guard
witchcraft.
what comes into this church. Guys, let's go over the song. Here's the church. Here's
There
the
you go.
steeple. Open the doors, and here's the
all
people.
the people.
The people are, for those of you who can't see us because we're not on video, I'm doing the
He's
hands
just
thing.
wiggling his
Yeah.
fingers.
The people is the church. So if he's
Yes.
saying it's not coming into this church, then he needs to rephrase that
I
to
think
it's
we would
not
have some
coming into
theological differences
this, it's
with
not
this guy.
coming into this building because the church is the people.
But apparently, the folks over at Duncan are doing pretty
Right.
well, right?
He gives an advertisement for Duncan. And this
Well, maybe they're
I
doing the
wanna
Lord's
remind y'all,
work at Duncan,
this
may
is
be.
in a worship service.
even though their donuts are not as good as Krispy Kreme.
He's doing
Preach,
this
brother.
in a
Yeah,
a worship service.
I'm raising hands right now. The Dunkin' Donuts is not as good as the Krispy Kreme.
And I'd like to say that I'm still not over the fact that a Krispy Kreme closed on 280.
Broken-hearted.
I mean, there's
It's
just
awful.
something wrong.
Sorry, we're sabotaging your
That whole area should be like, I don't know, there should be some kind of probation for any restaurants of any sort being built down there. I mean, if you can't keep a Krispy Kreme open, if they put a Krispy Kreme in Leeds, there'd be two of me.
All right, let me play some more.
But I'm convinced in the eyes of a holy God, drinking Starbucks ain't no different.
ain't no different than what?
It's nothing but libations to Lucifer.
Ain't no different from drinking
I have been
libations to Lucifer.
shocked at what I have uncovered.
His alliteration was pretty
The
good.
sexual, demonic, sacrificial system that they are willing to
Hello?
support. You ought to see their first logo. We would call it pornography. But you study it. Don't take me, don't take my word for it. Study it. You will find out that mermaid chick on the front, who, by the way, went from that to actually, as far as their folklore is concerned, turning into a full-blown dragon and visiting people in spirit form in the middle of the night.
Pause
and
that.
raised.
He's crazy.
Okay, so I can't even think of what the Starbucks logo.
It's a mermaid with two tails.
Okay, so that turned into a dragon
But it
and
didn't.
visited people in the night. Is that a metaphor for they had to get up and go pee because they had coffee late?
I'm not
because-
sure what it is.
That's the question.
Now, I think it's worth noting that on the video, he's wearing. It's not an organic fabric. It's like, I think we'd call it satin shirt with a print of a lion on the front, little button down number.
Now I've got to look it up. What's this thing called?
I typed in Starbucks rant pastor.
Okay, I'm just.
And
gonna
he's
find it.
pacing back and forth and flexing and screaming.
I will say that I will be using the line libations to Lucifer
Libations to Lucifer.
in the future.
Let's do some more here.
5 children, 2 of which had one job: burn down churches. Everybody okay? This mic's getting heavy. I'm going to have to throw it here in a minute. Pitch it in the baptismal waters.
This is just
So look, I don't
him
care.
trying to
Look, I know,
entertain
I know.
people.
We got people around. Drink it. I don't care. I ain't been to Starbucks in a long
No, it
time.
doesn't sound like you care.
And I ain't interested in going. Okay? And I'm not even a Charbucks fan, right? It's
Oh.
charred because it tastes burnt. But
See what he did
the
there?
few times I've drunk it and enjoyed it,
So now we know
I
he
won't ever
doesn't
again.
like it.
You see, once I make my mind up on something,
Oh,
man,
that
it's not like I'm going to look at my
shirt
kids. Oh, you
is
wicked people. You drink
amazing.
Starbucks. No, that's on y'all, not me. But don't bring it in this church.
Notice the authority.
Drink
that
it
is.
all in your car. I
You
don't
can-
ever want to see another Starbucks cup on this platform, ever. Have I made myself? Ever.
But you can drink it on your own.
I was shocked at what it actually propagates
Propagates.
and
Big
what it
word.
actually is. And the Bible says that we to break the images.
He's done
Not
some
celebrating.
study on this, guys.
I'll go one step further. You know what I find it interesting?
This guy's
You
a
ever wonder why
scholar.
people that are dirt poor
Oh, this part.
and can barely pay their bills
So now it's how much it costs.
somehow find a way
Yeah, always comes back to this.
to buy $6 coffee. You know what I'm convinced of? I'm convinced that one of the curses, I don't care what these people say, they're going to go crazy. I'm convinced that one of the curses that is upon Starbucks is the curse of poverty.
Starbucks is doing all right.
Because most of the people that drink Starbucks can't even pay their bills, but they can't stop drinking it.
Is that on Starbucks or on
I
the
don't care if
people
you
drinking
spend $20
Starbucks?
if it's the spiritual coffee, right?
And is that true?
But I believe that there
The
is a
spiritual
curse
coffee. I
that
think
has
he
been
made another
placed
Dunkin'
upon
Donuts
it
joke.
that makes people just have to keep going back spending big money on something that tastes like garbage to begin with.
Very subjective.
Now, I know
very,
I got
very
some of you ready for
subjective.
Google fingers right now.
He's just wanting what he's getting is attention, a
fine.
viral video.
Oh, yeah.
You,
Does this
if
guy
I
still
drive
have a
by
job?
Starbucks
That's
and your
the
car's
question.
there, I'll never rebuke you.
But you are.
I would never look at our
rebuking.
staff and say, you cannot drink Starbucks.
You
But
kind
you
of just
will
did.
not
Our staff
bring
would
it
say,
in
"You
the
will not bring it
building."
to the office,
We won't bring it up to the office.
Yeah.
right? I don't want it anymore.
Well, we
It's
don't
like
care.
carrying a pentagram on a cup.
No, it's not.
But
Man,
you
there
can do
is
that in your car.
familiar
you just can't do it
spirits.
in here.
I'd love to hear Jerry
They're
Clower
attached to
do
that
one of
business.
his comedy routines
And you hear
on
that,
this
and you're
dude.
like, that's crazy. Yeah, but you believe it about liquid death.
Liquid Death. Or is he talking about the brand Liquid Death there at the end?
What
'Cause
is-
there
is there a
a
brand?
nasty carbonated water drink that comes in those big aluminum cans. I think it has a skull on it. It's called Liquid Death.
No, I've never heard of that.
I
either.
like sparkling water, but this has got like artificial sweeteners in it.
Well, it's not
good at
Le
all. No, it's not like wine.
Now, so what was his purpose in this other than getting attention, which obviously he's been pleased to do? Because there's
that was it.
Was there any spiritual message in this?
No,
It
that's
was like
what
the
blows my
rant
mind
of an
is that
angry
is a
man.
part of a worship service at this church.
With a guy wearing a Liger on his shirt.
It looked like a Napoleon Dynamite original.
I'm
There
serious.
on the front of that
I
shirt.
think I've seen that at a bowling alley. Not that I'm judging him. If he wants to wear
it looks
that,
like a bowling shirt.
if he
Yeah.
wants to wear it, go ahead. Now, I don't drink a ton of coffee because it makes me hot, and I don't like cold coffee. I only drink it hot, and during the summer, I can't drink it because it makes me sweat. But Starbucks is not. He was making it sound like it's the worst coffee in the world.
Well,
don't know
hey,
that I
look,
would- I don't know that I'd
I don't
agree with
care.
it.
You know, I go to
Well,
Starbucks a lot.
He kept
but
dodging from different things, right?
Right, it's so inconsistent.
The company's terrible and represents the devil. It's charred. It's expensive.
Lucifer's
And it's-
libation.
and poor people cannot keep from buying it. But it's nasty. Now, look,
If you buy it, you end up with a curse of poverty.
yes, I do go to Starbucks too much, but I'm not an apologist for the company. I don't believe in what they stand for. But you know what? If I lined up Dunkin' Donuts, which he was calling God's coffee or something like that,
Spiritual coffee.
If I lined up Dunkin' Donuts policies and values with Starbucks, they would probably look exactly alike.
Well,
because
and-
to run a corporation in America today, you have to go woke. Or
Well,
that
and
people
let's-
think you have to. I don't think
Let's
you
be
have to.
honest. If you were to go through just a list of major retailers, not even in the restaurant industry out there,
Right.
Target, there's problems there. Walmart, there's problems there. If the argument he's making is that it's this worldly, sinful, horrible thing, then we're going to be kind of having to avoid most of the major U.S.
And
corporations.
he don't mind if you drink it
Listen,
at home. But don't bring it in this church.
I think we know probably what he was really doing, and that is on his way to church that morning, he was thinking, what in the world am I going to talk about today?
I want to
And-
be funny.
Right.
and
what
he
he's
got a
thinking.
cold
He's-
cup
he's
of
like-
Starbucks on the way there,
and he's
he
like,
was mad.
He's like, I'm gonna be edgy today. You know, I am.
What can
They are not gonna see what hit them.
What can I tackle that really doesn't matter, but will make me seem like I'm dangerous?
Drew, if we could ever get you on a Sunday up there just ranting about something like that,
Do I need to yell more?
It would probably be your last sermon.
So he would just stress like random words and
yeah,
yell
I
at the
can
random
do
word.
that. You know, people tell me I should get more excited. I've always thought if the content's good enough, I don't have to put on a show. But if I gotta, punch a word here and there, like it's godless, the most godless thing I've ever seen. I mean, with that,
Well,
I feel kind of foolish doing it. But
by listening to him, you've got to have a little alliteration in there too, because he was like
libations to Lucifer.
libations to Lucifer. I kind of appreciate the way you just kind of open up the scriptures and tell us what they say, and
But every
point out
other
a couple
word
of
I could,
things. Well, but
could
then,
punch it. I could
then the
just hit it
guys in
hard.
the sound room hate you, also known as the video kingdom. Yeah, we know about you guys too.
Why don't we pick? Let's
And
pick
you
a
wouldn't
word
go about
that you would scream
establishing
each time.
your own kingdom in the video room.
There
There's
you go.
another one. The video room.
You know I love you,
I love you,
but you're
don't
wrong.
you bring your
but,
coffee into this church.
Now I'm not from
Slap
the
the table. Listen, are you listening? Are you listening up?
Now, I'm going to say, I didn't hear this from the pulpit, but I once heard you go on a rant similar to that about the auditorium is looking like the underpass of 459, like homeless people are living in here.
When are you people going to take your blankets home?
There are shawls,
your pillows,
and pads,
your shawls, your
and
coloring books.
there's a stool
book
back
bags.
there.
Hallelujah.
Have you no houses to live in?
And then throughout the whole thing in the background, you hear the crowd going, yes, teach them.
Oh, that's what
Teach
he
'em.
wanted. That's like the preachers that come and force you to say amen.
Can
Are
I
you
get
gonna
an
say
amen?
Come on now, you can do better than that.
Yeah, you know
Good
that was good.
morning. Oh, y'all can do better than that. Let's try that one more time. Good morning. Good morning.
One of you guys.
Morning.
But we know those folks that are searching for that. And
And he said to do your research. So I looked him up. His name is Greg Locke
okay.
or something like that. I may have got the first name wrong.
No, I think that I looked it up a minute ago. I think that's right.
He's on his second marriage.
Greg Locke, that's him.
I think
His-
we should check out another.
He's got a Wikipedia page. His first marriage ended in 2018. His second marriage began in 2018. And his second marriage was to his secretary. So
Sounds like you should have kept some other things out of the auditorium.
Starbucks is not the only thing
I'm
that's
just saying.
godless. But I'm just looking. I mean, I could be wrong.
He's, not local, but he's in the southeast. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Yeah. The
We need
thing
to see. We
people-
need to see if is his typical content this random, right? So it's like next week.
Yeah.
Is it like the golden arches or the gates of hell or something like that?
I looked a little into what he does, and he likes controversy, and he's very political.
All right.
January 6th, he's all for it.
Well, it's a great day. It's the day after the 5th. It's right before the 7th.
Right.
Oh, you're talking about a specific
It's not
January
the
6th.
it's not the
January
perfect
6th.
date. That's April 27th. Because it's not too cold and you can wear a light sweater out.
That's right. It's perfect.
That's a quote from Miss Congeniality. I apologize.
Tim,
The one movie you've seen.
And I submit,
That's gonna come
and
up
I
in
su-
segments
I
some point.
submit my man card.
Now,
You
he's
leave it here and
he's
don't
seen
pick it
that
up
in-
again.
That and Sleepless in Seattle. Beyond that, that's his movie catalog right there.
You've got mail.
We're bringing this up at another podcast. But he's just out looking for attention, saying things that are provocative so that people will click and give him likes.
And that's why the people who are there, that's why they're there.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Well,
But that's the state of religion in America
but
today.
it's sad that he uses the platform of the church to put forth this kind of personal agenda.
Yeah.
That's what's sad about it.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it anyway. Maybe
It's
I'm wrong.
absurd. It's absurd. Let's hope that every service isn't like that, but we know it is. I mean, if you're going to wear a shirt like that,
Yeah.
then
I am getting you a shirt like that made, and maybe on a Wednesday night you could break it out. It's got to be untucked. I do believe it has to be untucked, which is going to be tough. I know.
I have a hard time with that.
A lot of shading.
Yeah.
A lot of,
Yeah, you have to work on that shading on the upper lip.
Spent
For
3
while.
hours on the shading on that upper lip.
some of my best work.
All right, let's take a little break, and we'll come back with something
I'm
a
going
little
to go
more
get some
meaningful.
Starbucks.
Let's do it now! I've got me a cup of Starbucks decaf right here.
Oh, the devil's libation. I'm sorry, Lucifer's libation.
Libations of Lucifer. And I
The devil's
tip
delicacy.
my glass to you.
To the rest of the witches' coven.
Yes. So if I start speaking backwards or something satanic, just stop the tape.
If you crawl up the corner of the wall and across the ceiling, I'm out of here.
Right. Well, we do have a passage for this week. This is from Danish philosopher Soren Kierkegaard. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. I picked this one because, to me, it says a lot about the providence of God. I believe in the providence of God, which is God's non-miraculous activity on our behalf. We read about all these miracles where he goes into the supernatural. He bends the laws of nature, as it were, to act on behalf of his people. Crossing the Red Sea on dry land, making the sun stop in the sky for Joshua, raising his son from the dead. These are things that don't happen naturally. They only can happen supernaturally. Those are miracles in the technical sense. I know people use the word miracle and throw it around for, say, childbirth, the miracle of childbirth. What they mean is that's an amazing thing, and it is amazing, but it happens according to the laws of nature. We may not understand how those laws work, but it happens naturally. Providence, or miracles rather, are supernatural, above the natural. Providence is God's activity in the normal way, which is really no less fascinating or amazing than miracles. It's just we're used to it. It's amazing that, wheat can come up from a seed and feed people. It's amazing that rain falls from the sky. It's amazing that our bodies work the way that they work. Photosynthesis is amazing. I could give you one example after another, and you could come up with your own. This is God's providence. Well, I believe he answers prayer. I believe he acts on behalf of his people through providence, but he does it through nature. He can do that. He's the master of the universe. He sustains all things. And now, how do you know it's providence? Well, I think you have to look back on it. And that's the only way you can understand life. So some examples I thought of, and I'm just going to get all my thoughts out of the way. Y'all chime in if you want to. Yeah, speaking uninterrupted here for a minute. Genesis 50:20, Joseph is looking back on his life, which was full of all kinds of mishaps, it seemed at the time. And he just kept moving forward. He kept living forward, not understanding at the time, but trusting God. And then he looked back and he told his brothers, you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good, to save many people alive. He realized that God had raised him up as a deliverer, but he didn't know that when his brothers threw him into a pit. He didn't know it when they sold him into slavery. He didn't know that whenever he was falsely accused by Potiphar's wife, thrown into prison and forgotten. He didn't know it until he was able to look back on it. But you can guess that, kind of like Mordecai with Esther, perhaps you've come to the throne for such a time as this. Maybe this is it. But I can't be certain. We're going to have to give it time to see what God does through all of this. So in the moment, in the present, you have to trust God and move forward. That's how you live. So the present moment, you're kind of blind, and you have to rely on your faith and your trust that God has worked on my behalf in the past, and so I know he will be with me in the future. That's why I picked a quote this week, because I think it says a lot about God's activity in our lives and how we should talk about it and think about it.
And I think the point of life can only be understood backwards, looking at it from back behind us to figure out kind of what has happened, is because God's providence does not occur on our time frame.
Right.
God's providence may take years and years and years. I mean, with everything I've been through in my life, especially in recent years, I think it's God's providence that I'm here at Asheville Road with the people that are here around me. I think I still have an intact family because of the people that God has placed into my lives over the last 20 years that I developed these close relationships with, that when everything went south, they were there to sit with me and to cry with me and to hurt with me and to encourage and to lift up. And, it took a lot of going through a lot of awful things to really look back and see how blessed I am to be where I am in my life. There's no doubt that that's God's providence. And I didn't see it at the time. I just thought I was hanging out with a bunch of really cool people and I was having a great time. But I didn't understand that I was put with these people because these people were going to pull me out of the fire at some point in my life. And looking back in retrospect, it's like, man, I was in the right place at the right time and by nothing I did. In fact, everything I was doing was going in the opposite direction of what God wanted me to do. But I mean, that's the cool thing about it is with God's providence, we're given opportunities. If we'll take a pause in life to just reflect, we can all find things like that in our lives that show the purpose of what we're doing and why we're here and the people around us.
I'm with you there. I think that there's a lot about life that we can turn around and look at backwards and not really understand, and that's okay. Everything. Life's not for us to understand everything.
There's always going to be mystery.
Absolutely, but I think there are things that that really do stand out sometimes. And Jason, what you were saying, I think that was God's providence. Drew, I was thinking about, maybe we can talk about this for a second. You remember when? So three of us have been friends for a long time. We've done breakfast together for a lot of years, once a week, just as a way. A lot of times we don't get to hang out together all the time. We all have different things that we have going on, but that's sort of been one way that we, have always kept in touch. And, we talked a lot as Drew was dealing with the Parkinson's diagnosis, right? And, we sort of, we went through that journey with you of like, what
over
is
breakfast.
this, right? Over breakfast, a lot of years and a lot of weeks. And it's like,
It'd be our one time a week.
What are we going to do
together
next? What's really going on?
Yeah.
And you remember when we were all going to go to Indiana, I think it was, and get certified for
Rock Steady Boxing,
right?
Because we didn't have one in the area.
Did not have one in the area.
Yeah, and you guys said we'll learn it and we'll do it with you.
Right, we'll set your garage up. We'll all do it together, and then all of a sudden, Juarez Boxing, right?
Yeah. So the way it goes is this is right after I was diagnosed, 2016. And I learned about this boxing program. Wasn't available. They didn't have an affiliate in Birmingham or in the state of Alabama at the time. And you guys generously said, we're going to go up and get trained and we're going to do this. And I called to make the appointment in Indianapolis to get the training. And they said, okay, we've got you booked to come up. I think they booked me for like November. Mm-hmm. But they said, there are a couple guys here from Birmingham, and we'll see if we can give you their number, and you can call them. So they called me back, they said it was okay for you to call, and it turned out that was Martin and Danny. This was probably February or March of 2016. And I was in the first Rock Steady boxing class in Birmingham, May, I forget the exact date, but May of that same year. They just started. I was in the first class. We had 8, and I've been doing it for 8 years now. And it turned out we didn't have to go get certified. And now that I know what it is, I know that our original plan would not have worked. I mean, it requires too much time, too much equipment.
And you know,
there's no way we could have done it.
Not only did those guys do this, you know, you had a guy who was a Golden Gloves boxer. He basically took the concept of rock steady boxing, which was a great concept, took it to a whole, another level that
it's
those
his own
folks
brand
could not
now.
have imagined.
We call it the PD Fight Club now.
That's right.
Yeah.
And this guy is like the most passionate guy about this, you know, and
is helping a lot more than 8 people now.
And it's like, how can you look back at that? And, you know, there was our plans to do this. We were going to take a shot at it. We would have been, you know, doing something, but, you know, then this guy comes along.
Right. It was answered prayer.
Not say that?
I have no doubt.
No doubt.
No doubt.
And let's just be honest. Look at Tim and I. We're not boxing material. We're more like the punching bag. Definitely not the punching.
That's right.
But that's one of those that until you start looking back on things.
Yeah.
And I hadn't even thought about that. That's such a good example of it. I don't know.
I thought you were going to talk about adoption.
Yeah, and I am, because I can't talk about Providence without talking about Jonathan and just this story of how learning about Jonathan came about, because this is one of those, it's like, are you kidding me? You know, is this story really for real? Because, you know, this story just is wrapped in one day. So Millie and I had, just like Drew and Julie, you know, we had gone through all of the processes related to adoption after years of fertility, you know, dealing with infertility and going through all those treatments and, you know, all the, you know, the roller coaster that is. And we finally decided, all right, it's time to move to another approach. And so we had gone to classes, and we had we had home studies, all the steps that we needed to take, and we were down to finalizing our scrapbook, right? So we had taken all the obligatory pictures of, you know,
that's what they showed the birth mother,
right? You know, we're here's our perfect home, here's our perfect life.
And these birth mothers, our listeners may not understand the process, but they get to look at all these different portfolios and pick a home for their child.
Right. And it's like, please pick us, us, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, this, this was really the final step. And so the step was finalize and submit the scrapbook, and then get in line and wait and pray that someone will pick you. And so, our journey had already, Millie would be able to tell you more specifically. I want to say there were some off and ons in this time frame, right? It wasn't like every month for, I want to say 9 years. I think our journey had gone on from the time that we really, started seeing doctors and started through procedures. I think it was 9 years, 7 to 9, somewhere in there. And so we were driving up. Millie's brother Billy was preaching up in Corner, and they had like their friends and family day or whatever. And so, so we were driving up, and we're talking, and just making our way up there early on a Sunday morning. And we pulled off the exit to go to Corner, and we stopped at a gas station. And I'm not always like a ranter or whatever, sometimes, maybe I'm too calm sometimes, but I sort of just came apart that day, and I said, Millie, I am 42 years old, because I was, And I said, I can't get in line and wait 2 years for somebody to pick me, and, it was a little bit of a pity party, but it was just, it was the bare raw. This has been a long road already. And, here we are, and we've gone through these steps we need to do to get in line, but there's no promises here. And, we may have to wait 2 years. We may have to wait forever, and this not happen. So we go to church that day, and this was in January of 2009. And we go to church, and Billy's in-laws were there. And we had never seen Billy and Brandy's house before up there. So after church, we stood around, talked for a while, and then we went over to Billy and Brandy's, and Mac and Dorinda, Billy's in-laws, were there. And so we hung around, talked for a little while, laughed, had a good time, and we're going to get in the car. And Mac just sort of stops me. And I won't go into a lot of additional detail here, but basically he says, I know someone, I've told them about you. There's this situation, because there always is when it comes to adoption. And then it was one of those, it's like, are you kidding me?
Same day.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I get in the car, and I tell Millie, I said, did Mac tell you what he told me? No. And I said, well, he said that he knows someone, he's had a discussion with them. This person's putting a baby up for adoption. And she started, this is perfect Tim and Millie, right? It's like, well, did you ask him this and this and this and this?
That's
and
husband
this?
and wife.
Yeah,
Right?
that is, yeah,
and
yeah.
I was like, no. I said, no.
I'm a man. I didn't ask anything.
I said, no. I said, okay. And so,
Thank you.
she's like on the phone, right. So this was the story of Jonathan. And it was on this day. It wasn't like I had a breakdown every day, right? I mean, I basically had this moment. And it was like, when I think back about it, it was like I was sort of crying out to God. I don't know how, I can't, I'm at a point in my life where I don't need to get a lot older. Mm-hmm. And that was January of 2009. March 30th of 2009, Jonathan was born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It went that quickly.
And there was probably time between January and March where you had your doubts about whether you were going down the right route. And
We'll save that story for another day. But we thought right at the, right before the birth, we thought we couldn't make some contact, and we thought it was falling through.
Yeah.
And
you
then
had to live forward. Just like the quote says.
We could probably spend some episodes somewhere down the line talking about adoption, but you have to do a lot of weird stuff when it comes to adoption, and I'll just share one of those, and we can sort of get back to this. And one of those is, and I think Drew will know this, very well, is when you're in the process of preparing to adopt, you can't do what, like Jason and Cassie probably did. I know they did, right? You can't get a nursery ready.
Right.
You can't go in there and, and 2 weeks later, it falls through, and you're staring at this room that is going to be empty, that's now a nursery.
Yes.
And so basically, where we were almost right up to the point that Jonathan was born, about all we could do is sort of we were emptying some stuff out of a room and sort of making some basic preparations, but you just can't do that to yourself, basically. Mm-hmm. But that whole story, I go back and look at that, and it's like God answered me.
Yeah.
He made that happen. That's God's providence. And there was a lot of things that wove into that, right? So a lot of, you could look at a lot of logic around, well, things happen or whatever, but that thing happening
that story
that way,
that you have is so special, because when you're facing bewildering circumstances in the future, you may not understand what's going on in the moment, but you can look back and say, well, I have this story, and I had faith then.
That's right.
And I walked through the doors that were opening in front of me, not knowing if this was God or just happenstance. And now that I look back, I see his hand in it, and I choose to believe his hand is in this as well.
That's right.
Well, and that's where trusting in God, that's where you start to find that foundation and trust in God. Because it is hard when you're in the moment, living life forward, to trust that God's got everything in control. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just hard. I mean, we've all had those moments where we have either been on our knees or at the end of our rope, and we've just been devastated by life, and you don't understand what's going on. But God does. God sees the whole picture. So I read a book about 2 years ago called Living Life Backwards. It was a study on Ecclesiastes. And I went back and looked through the book just to see if he even referenced this quote. He doesn't, but a very similar idea. And his whole concept of that book was, at the end of Ecclesiastes, at the end of chapter 12, Solomon, who I picture, I think he's at the end of his life. I think Solomon wrote Ecclesiastes late in his life, and he is reflecting over his entire life. Son of David, wealthiest man to have ever lived, most brilliant man, wisest man, had access to everything. And in Ecclesiastes, he tells you all these things he trying to find purpose in life and trying to find meaning in life and happiness in life. And at the end of the book, I think it's verses 13 and 14, he says, at the end, the whole of man is to fear God and keep his commandments. And then he goes forth to say that everything that we do will be revealed, that God is going to expose everything, good or bad. But it's that idea of our purpose is to fear God and keep his commandments. Well, that's hard to do when you're living life forward, when it feels like everything in life is kicking you and getting you down. But we're all going to get to a point in life, and the premise of this book was live life as if you are living it to God, knowing that you are going to spend eternity with him, that you are going to face judgment from God, and trust in his providence, trust in his word, and continue to move forward. And that's so hard to do when we're caught up in the chaos of life. I mean, we two of us had teenagers graduate this year. It's a chaotic time. We're trying to figure out how are we going to help our kids transition into their adult life. And there's a lot more questions than I have answers for that. But I have to trust that God is going to walk us through that. And the more instances we have in our adult life when we can start to look back and see these moments of providence, like you said, it gives us hope because we can see, hey, God's been there for us. There's been some really bad times, but ultimately God has used my bad times for his glory, for the glory of man, and he's taught me lessons. And as long as I stay true to fearing him, which is not like you're terrified of him, but it's a deep respect for him. It's a reverence towards God. And if you're keeping his commandments, you're obeying his word, then you're going to be okay. It may not feel like it in the moment, but at the end, you're going to at least get to spend all of eternity in his light, in his presence, in his love. And that's easy to forget in the moment.
Yeah, I want to say one more thing about looking backwards. When you look backwards, another thing you notice is the things that you thought mattered didn't matter all that much, and the things that you didn't think mattered matter a great deal.
Yeah.
And that perspective should help you going forward. In the small things and in the big things, I'm going to search for the will of God, because this may seem like a small matter, but God could use it for a great matter. And this thing that I'm worried about, well, it may never happen. And that's one thing the past is good for, is to learn those lessons and to see God's hand working. And so, I like talking about the providence of God, and
I don't think we can
very helpful.
Leave this. I think another passage that's really important on this topic, and is one that's very difficult to deal with sometimes, is Romans 8:28. We know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. And, that's that looking back is because, when we're dealing with tragedy in our lives, it's hard to see how things are working together for good. But I think, probably if we look at things through the right lens, we can go back and see good coming out of even the worst situations that have happened in our lives. And we've all dealt with some bad stuff, but it's important to realize also that, that verse is not saying that everything's good, because it's not. Right. There's some really bad stuff.
And
but
he may not work it together for good until the resurrection.
That's right.
It may, but it will work together for good.
But I think also that we, if we try to live faithfully for him, in a lot of cases, there will be good that we can see as we turn around and look back in this life in many, many circumstances. Now, it may be wrapped in a whole creamy covering of bad.
Yeah.
But there's good there. And sometimes, lasting good that can outweigh the bad. Even though the bad can be really bad, hopefully it can stay in the past and the good can move forward and it becomes more a part of your life going forward.
Right. Yeah. Well, that was a good discussion. I'm glad we were able to bring it together after all the craziness before the break.
And I totally didn't have a blackout moment tonight.
You stayed coherent.
You were solid as a rock.
Just sharp as a tack that whole time.
The entire time.
But all good things must come to an end. So we're going to bring this podcast to an end for now. We'll be back next week. And in the meantime, check us out on social media. I'm going to let John give you the Instagram account. And check out cobbpublishing.com. Send us some feedback. We'd really love for you to write a rating, or you don't write a rating, you give a rating, and you write a review. And tell your friends about it. The word is spreading. The audience is growing. We're getting more and more passengers all the time, and we appreciate that. All of that credit goes to you. So stick with us until next time. I'll let John take us out.
Follow us on Instagram at passages_podcast. And join us next time on Passages.